Maite Nkoana-Mashabane says she only learned of the 2013 Gupta plane landing at the Waterkloof Air Force base through the media. The minister is appearing before the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. A private plane carrying wedding guests landed at Waterkloof, which is reserved for the executive and eminent guests. It caused an outcry and national embarrassment. Nkoana-Mashabane says she only learned after media reports of former State Protocol Chief Bruce Golwane's involvement in the matter. Golwane was suspended for 2 months and was given a 6-month final warning for his role. Nkoana-Mashabane says Golwane was shifted as recommended by the disciplinary hearing. He became South Africa's ambassador to the Netherlands in 2014. In July, Golwane admitted to the same commission that he'd abused the power of his office and that he unduly used the name of then President Jacob Zuma and 2 ministers to clear the landing. So let's get more on this story. My colleague Manqoba Mchunu joins me now. Manqoba, fascinating to hear a minister say a landing at an Air Force base like that she heard about through the media.
And Zinga, interestingly, it's not the first time. We also heard from the former Minister of Transport, Ben Martins, when he came to the State Capture Commission, repeating the same thing. He says he too had learned from the media of the Gupta plane landing. And of course, it's interesting because these are officials would have expected that they would have known about this landing. She was the International Relations Minister at the time. And of course, Ben Martins at the time was the Minister of Transport. So those are key departments that it should have known about this landing, which of course had been coming from India, which is a country outside of South Africa. So she says she didn't know, and at first she says she was not at all perturbed by this landing. Let's take a listen.
When the news broke, a private aircraft had landed in a supposed to be secure space for government. So I wasn't perturbed at first because many such incidents happen without us. We only get involved if there was a diplomatic guest arriving. So that's when at first I wasn't really worried because we wouldn't be involved.
So Manqoba, there is an incident that occurs, there's a disciplinary process that's taken place and sanctions are meted out. You'd assume that if someone has punishment for something, perhaps they would be slightly ostracized or moved away from a type of career that involves governance, selling the reputation of a country perhaps. Golwane ended up as a diplomat.
And I mean, Zinga, you think of this, it was a national embarrassment. It is, the landing of the Gupta plane was something that really showed the flexing of their muscles with regards to state organs and how much of an influence they had on state organs. And of course, it became a national embarrassment and also became a diplomatic issue for the country. So you'd expect that somebody who has admitted to say that I am the one who abused power, I in fact use or unduly used the name of the president and 2 ministers to actually get this plane to land, that somebody like that will face serious sanctions. But instead, he was only slapped with 2 months of suspension and a written warning which only lasted for 6 months. And of course, Nkoana-Mashabane says, he was experienced, and that's the reason why we then recommended that he becomes an ambassador. Take a listen to some of the reasons she gave for his appointment.
This one had served, if you like, if it's a jail term, a term. But he's also an experienced ambassador. So we had no other way of keeping him paid, sitting at home, doing nothing. And we can't say go home because we had no reason.
So the impression that I'm getting from watching those few clips is someone who is trusted by the minister and someone who is thought very highly of.
Well, of course, speaking about Bruce Golwane at the hearing, at some point she even interjected the chair and, described how she had met him and saying that, he was really somebody who worked hard. And at some point she says even, at every post that he was sent to, Bruce Golwane always performed. And so she really spoke fondly of him. You can tell from the way she was speaking that this is somebody she knew very well and that she took highly of. Let's take a listen.
I first met him in 2007 in Spain during President Mbeki's time. He was ambassador of South Africa in Spain. So when he came back, I had become a minister. This man had served in Cote d'Ivoire for representing DTI, in Japan, in China, Shanghai. So in all the areas that he had worked in, he had excelled.
Manqoba, what's next?
Well, we do expect her to continue the testimony after lunch. Of course, we do know that she's faced some serious questions about why, she had made the recommendation to the president. But of course, she's defended it. She says Bruce Kolwane was the right man. He had the experience to do the job.
Manqoba Mchunu, our colleague, giving us an update there on what's happening at the state capture inquiry. He will keep on keeping us updated.